It's me again, the world's least relevant Ben 10 fan. My last video that I did, I talked about the first 10. Why did I have to think about how many it was? The first 10 Ben 10 aliens that there were. You might hear sounds from outside because this is not a soundproof dorm room. Now I'm going to talk about the next, I think, 12 or so aliens that were introduced in Ben 10. And I'm probably going to have less to say because most of them are not used and reused nearly as often. Some of them are only used a single time. So yeah, hopefully this one will not be significantly longer than the last one. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say in terms of intro. It's going to be the same as the last one. I talk about them, I say what I like and don't like. I wear a fruity shirt, and I have a little pimple here. It happens. Everybody, I got another one on my nose. I was going to wait until maybe they went away to do a video, but I have Ben 10 to talk about, and no one gives a shit about acne, really, in the world. Don't worry about it. So here we go. The first alien Ben gets that isn't, in his original 10, the first new alien, is Cannonbolts, who always felt sort of underwhelming as a first new alien to me, because, later on, he gets, like, monster-themed ones, and a plant, and way big. So the first new alien, just being a guy with a shell who rolls around, was always a little bit, like, underwhelming to me. But Cannonbolt is not a bad design at all. I mentioned in the last video, I'm not usually that into sleek, cool-looking designs, so it's nice to have a big, soft-looking, bulky boy. I always thought it was weird how he very distinctly has, like, 6 armor pads on him, but then when he rolls up, he's a perfect ball. I always wished he looked a little bit more like an armadillo or a pangolin, because he kind of looks like a weird nothing, He really doesn't look like anything, and something about that, I never really liked him that much, just because I couldn't pinpoint really what he was supposed to be. Like, I don't look at this design and think, oh, I bet he rolls up into a ball. I look at this design and think, this guy could do anything, really. And maybe that was on purpose because he's the first new alien. They want you to guess at what he does. But his whole thing just being he rolls around in a ball. I think he's fine. I'm not crazy about him, but, he's fine. I have no problems with him, really. I like the durability thing, that he's one of the more defensive aliens. But I'm not, like, crazy about him, he's fine. Wildvine I love. I don't think there are enough plant aliens, and I don't even like Swampfire, really. So in my mind, this is the quintessential plant alien. And he's great. He has, like, a freaky, ugly face. He's got, like, an eye, but then seemingly he's got eyes on his shoulders, too. He looks weird. He's like a Venus flytrap dude. I like him a lot. I like his cool tentacle vine legs. I like his weird spindly fingers. I really like the design. And I like how, he has pretty much every ability you think of when you think plant creature, Like, he can root himself in the ground, tunnel around a little bit. His Venus flytrap can do a big chomp. He can, like, grow his arms to sort of stretch them out. He's a lot more, I think, agile than Swampfire is. I don't want to compare him too much to an alien that I won't talk about until the next video, but I do kind of feel like Swampfire was just him again. Like, they both can regrow parts of them that get destroyed. They both, like, Wildvine has those seed pods on his back, which he can use both to, like, explode on impact as grenades, or to grow, like, vines that he can control from afar. Swampfire has the same thing. He shoots out seeds that do that. So I always felt like he was like the original Swampfire, just without, fire. I like that he can grow thorns on his body, and I really like Swampfire overall. I think he's better than, I misspoke. I don't want to re-record that. I really like Wildvine. I feel like he's better than Swampfire. He's not a weird humanoid. I don't want to talk too much about Swampfire, but I don't like Swampfire very much, mostly because we already had a very cool plant alien in Wildvine. That's really the reason. I was expecting each little clip of talking about individual aliens to be shorter than before, and so far they've universally been longer, which is not promising. I'm gonna go out of order of when they were introduced, so I can talk about the Ben 10,000 aliens at the very end, and the Anner System aliens in a chunk right before that. So I'm gonna skip to Upchuck, who I love. I love small aliens. I feel like, so many of them are, their whole thing is that they're big and cool. I really like small aliens. I love Upchuck. He's a short little lizard dude. I probably, of all of them, my favorite is either OG Upchuck in terms of design, because he always seemed like he would be shiny and squishy if I touched him, like a little jelly bean, or Omniverse Merc Upchuck, because I like that he looks a little bit like a little frog guy. Omniverse Perk Upchuck always looked weird being naked because he wore clothes in the OG, and Ultimate Alien Force Merc is just kind of weird looking. But Upchuck's great. His powers are kind of simple. He eats objects in matter, and he spits them out as like energy balls. Well, he was very Kirby adjacent, which I think is why young me got hooked on him so easily, because I love Kirby. I love that they can just inhale air and blow to fly around. That was very Kirby adjacent too. I like them. It's a pretty simple thing. Eat stuff, spit stuff. But I'm 21 years old, so maybe the whole belching for power thing, it's a little old for me. I don't know, man. But I don't know. I still really like the design. I'm not too mature to just not like it. I'm making a video about Ben 10 aliens, so you could argue I'm not mature at all. But Upchuck's good. I love Ditto. Ditto is very good. I actually, as a kid, didn't really like Ditto from like the original series because he looked a little too human-y. He's like a little black and white cartoon character, which I always loved. But I don't know. The more human a design looks, usually the less I'm into it, other than I guess like forearms maybe. So the Omniverse redesign, where he's got like whiskers and claws, and he looks kind of like a little, I guess, like badger adjacent alien. I love that one. It's a really simple power. He splits into little clones of himself, and that's kind of it. They're strong, like stronger than a person, but not exactly super strong. They can see through each other. They share senses, and if the watch times out and they're far away, they'll be like magnetized to each other. But it's simple. It's simple and it's effective. The design, if you just looked at it, you wouldn't necessarily know cloning is its whole steez, but I think it gets a pass because he's like just a cute little guy, and cloning is cool, and I like him. Eye Guy is great. I love Eye Guy. I'm not really sure why I do, especially because he only shows up in the OG series twice, and even then, he only really shows up once in the finale episode, briefly, and then once in one of 3 versions of the Secret of the Omnitrix movie, which is like so weird. I'm talking about him before Way Big because even though Secret of the Omnitrix was like the finale of the show, when you watch it on like HBO Max, it's split into 3 episodes that serve as the beginning of the season. So that's how I'm considering it chronologically. But I really like Eye Guy. I like that he has eyes. Him and Wildmutt, I like that they don't have visible eyes on their face. Wildmutt gets by this by having like echolocation and really good sense of smell. Eye Guy has eyes all over, so he has telescopic vision. I like that he can merge all like the power of the eyes into one chest eye by closing the others, and that he can fire the green energy beams from any eye on his body. I always thought it was kind of weird that by firing from different combinations of eyes, he could like do ice or fire. That was I don't know. I feel like that wasn't something they expanded enough on for it to really make a lot of sense, but I'm not really mad about it. Water. It's just a good design. He's a humanoid, but kind of like a weird bat humanoid. Like he's got super long arms and claws and those giant ears that I love. So I don't know. I don't have that much to say about Eye Guy really, even though 2 minutes is arguably a lot of things to say. But good design. I always thought that Eye Guy was super underappreciated, and I'm glad he shows up like 10 times in Omniverse, because I finally get to see him do stuff. I have a particularly soft spot for Way Big for a lot of reasons. One, I've always loved big, kaiju monster movies. Two, the reason I love them is my dad was a big Ultraman fan as a kid, so I grew up watching like cheesy old episodes of Ultraman. So the fact that Way Big is specifically an Ultraman callback is really cute, especially because when I watch Ben 10 in the living room and my dad is there, I'll go to episodes that have Way Big and he'll notice and he'll like look up from his submarine games he plays on his laptop and he'll be like, oh, and it's really, I love it. I love Way Big. It's just a simple, cool design. He looks like he would be an awesome action figure first and foremost. He's got big fins, he's very strong and can shoot lasers. It was always disappointing to me that he stopped looking super weird, because in the original show he's got like all these small designs. His rib cage you can see, his eyes are weird, and he's got like secondary eyes coming off of him. And like the Ultimate Alien Force design, they simplified him way too much, and Omniverse brought back a lot of those details, but it just doesn't. I mean, we all know that Omniverse's design is, I like it, but it's very different. But Way Big is good. All the designs are good regardless of the art style. It's one of the only Ultimate forms I like is Ultimate Way Big. I love the Way Bads. I love that every form of Way Big is a reference to a different kaiju, giant monster, giant robot kind of thing. Way Big's very cool. I can't really say anything bad about him other than that I wish that he had always looked as kind of weird as he did the first time he appeared. Okay, now we get to the Paramount movie monsters. So after Ghost Freak left, for those of you who don't watch the show, Ghost Freak's DNA sample was an alien named Zscair who got absorbed into the Omnitrix, so he breaks free at one point, and he gathers like a task force of like Paramount movie monsters, being the Yenildushi, this werewolf guy, it's just called the Mummy, I think, because I don't think it speaks, but an alien mummy, and Dr. Victor, who's a Frankenstein. And Ben, through coming in contact with them, is able to take a sample of each of them and gain them as new transformations. And I always loved that. I think it's cool that he has forms he can just unlock by fiddling around or just having the Omnitrix for long enough. But the idea of having to Pokemon-style catch a DNA sample to be able to turn into it was always something that I thought was really cool. So the first one is Blitzwolfer, which is never given that name in the original run. I don't think it gets that name until Omniverse, really. He just called it Ben Wolf. Really cool alien. The fact that when he first gets the DNA sample, it accidentally corrupts his own DNA, and it looks like he's turning into a werewolf was very cool. It looks kind of alien, it has those big shoulder spikes, and its snout can split apart, like split open. I guess off the top of my head, if I had to think of an example of it, it would be like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, and it can like send out sonic waves, which I always thought was really cool for a power. I love sound wave based powers. That's mostly it. He doesn't use it that many times. I think he might actually only use it in the Ben Wolf episode in the original series. Yeah, he only uses it once, which was a shame, but he uses it like 3 or 4 times in Omniverse. So, eventually he gets used. Snarrow is a cool design. The episode that the Mummy is introduced in is genuinely kind of frightening. Like, there's this mineral that's super, like, it corrupts organic matter that comes in contact with it, but it's also a super cool, a super powerful energy source. So the Mummy opens up its bandages and keeps it inside of it. and it like exposes the security guard to it and he gets mutated, and little kid me got so scared. Snaro's powers are pretty cool. It's sort of just like an inanimate object. It's a mummy-shaped pile of bandages that it can move around. It's not exactly super strong, and Wildvine could already stretch out, so it having stretchiness isn't that special. The main thing is that Snaro is essentially invulnerable. Like, technically, he is very frail, you know, like you drop a rock on him and he crumbles, but nothing you do can destroy Snaro, really. I guess maybe fire could, but physical attacks aren't really going to do anything, because Snaro can reshape in any way, can unfold himself if he gets crushed. I guess it's also pretty energy resilient because it was immune to that radioactiveness, but it's not especially strong. Like, its main thing is that it's good at surviving, but it can't do a lot of damage, and I think that's a pretty interesting trade-off, but I get why it wasn't used very often. Ben Victor's lame. I mean, it's a cool design on its own, but as an alien, it doesn't look anything like an alien. It just looks like a guy with two things sticking out of it. It just looks like Frankenstein. And also, I know it was the first electricity-based transformation, but you got Buzzshock, Frankenstrike, Brainstorm, Amphibian, Shock Squatch, Feedback. Eventually there's 6 electricity aliens, and I think Ben Victor is the least special. He has super strength, and he can shoot energy. I like, technically he's electromagnetic, so he can like manipulate metallic stuff, pick it up with the lightning. But I don't know. I feel like if I had to get rid of any of the 6, it would definitely be Frankenstrike, because Brainstorm also has electrokinesis. Shock Squatch also has a combination of super strength and lightning powers. He's really the least special, and there's 6 of them, and he just looks like a dude. I don't have very much to say. I don't think it's a bad design, but I think it's unnecessary. Now we get to my weirdly personal opinions, because my 2 favorite OG Ben 10 aliens each only appear in flash forward episodes. I think Spitter appears once in Ben 10,000 and once in Ken 10, and Arctiguana has the same thing, once in Ben 10,000, once in Ken 10, but at least Arctiguana shows up a couple of times in Omniverse, and once or twice in the Ben 10,000 episodes of Ultimate Alien. Spitter has never shown up since Ken 10, and that makes me so sad, because for reasons I don't fully understand, it's my favorite my favorite alien in the franchise is Spitter, which is why I'm going to talk about Buzzshock and Arctiguana first. Buzzshock specifically is cool. You know, it's just your standard electricity alien, but I always liked how it could move around as living electricity and like travel through circuitry and wires. It can inhabit electrical devices. I always thought that was really cool because, you know, there's so many electricity aliens. You need something to make them stand out. So having electricity that's not especially strong, but it's a living being of electricity, so it can move through circuitry and stuff like that, makes them stand out to me. I think they're capable of splitting off into like little clones of themselves. I mean, Ditto can do that. Echo can do that. I don't really care about that part. But moving through electrical sources is very cool. I love that. And he can fly. You know, that's cool. He's a little dude. I like him. I love Arctiguana. I love ice powers. I feel like they don't show up enough in media, especially Ben 10, where you have 6 electricity aliens and 2 ice ones. You obviously have Big Chill, who he uses a lot in Alien Force, but in the OG series, other than, I guess, when Heat Blast has a cold, he never really has any ice aliens, not counting the future, of course. I really like Arctiguana. I like reptilian aliens to begin with, so I double like giving them ice powers. I will admit I prefer the OG design to Omniverse. Omniverse plays up the reptile thing in the OG series. He has like a weirdly humanoid stance, and he kind of looks like a weird salamander fish thing, and I really like that. I just, I like them when they look weirder. But Arctic iguana is very cool. It's stronger than, normal species, like a human being, obviously. He can hover by breathing straight down. But obviously the thing that makes it the most special is he can breathe an ice beam to freeze stuff. He can also, I like that he can skate across the ice, like, what's his name from The Incredibles, Frozone. There's something when I was a kid, I always wanted him to do, which was like freeze his own hand to make like an ice fist or an ice mace or something and use it to punch. And little kid me still wants to see that someday, but Arctic iguana is cool. Breathing a freeze ray is good enough, frankly. I just wish he had shown up more in the original series. And even still, I wish he had shown up more in Omniverse, because 4 appearances, he could have had more. Ice is a cool ability. And now, the prodigal son returns. Spitter is ugly. I love Spitter. Something about Spitter's design makes me think of like a swamp, like a Creole grandma. I don't know why, but I look at Spitter and I think if there was a character from Spitter's species being spheroids, I would imagine her being like Mama Odie from Princess and the Frog. I love Spitter. I love amphibians, both in real life and in character design. I love aquatic aliens, and you can tell Spitter can swim, even if Spitter only ever does 2 things in the show, which is vomit and then vomit again. There was already a goo-based alien, which was Stinkfly. It shot out stinky, yucky slime that I think mostly was just sticky, like it stuck to things and it hardened quickly. So to differentiate from Stinkfly, Spitter has this super slippery, watery throw-up, which is disgusting to say out loud. But someone's charging at you, you make them slip. Someone very tall is walking, you make them slip. It's very situational, obviously. I do like that it can conduct electricity. I always thought that was neat because it gives you good synergy, like when Ben 10,000 used Buzz Shock while Ken was using Spitter. But it did give me a weird vendetta against Goop because Spitter obviously is only used twice. And there was already an alien who had slime that was very sticky. So I always thought as a kid, I hope that future Ben 10 brings back Spitter and has him shoot corrosive slime, because that just seemed like the natural evolution. You have a weird frog, pufferfish, piranha, and it vomits. I don't know why I like this one so much, but I always felt like it should be able to like melt through stuff. And then Goop was introduced. And Goop just sort of invalidated everything I wanted from Spitter and made it so Spitter never needed to come back, because we had a sticky goo alien and a corrosive goo alien. So that's the whole reason I don't like Goop, pretty much. I think it would be cool because Spitter obviously isn't indestructible like Goop is, can't fly like Stinkfly can. I think it would be cool if, should they ever bring back Spitter, if it could switch between sticky, slippery, corrosive, because that's all it can do. So being able to swap ammo could be cool. Obviously, it could be an aquatic thing like Ripjaws, but with vomit. But I want Spitter to come back. Spitter is so, it's gross, obviously it vomits, but it's weirdly cute to me in a way. I picture it having the personality of a kindly grandmother and the voice of Audrey 2 from the movie version of Little Shop of Horrors. I just like Spitter so much. I really wish it would come back. It's the only alien to, as far as we know, be capable of speech and never talk. I think it's the only alien from the original run of Ben 10 to never reappear. I know Jet Ray didn't show up in Omniverse, neither did Chameleon or Fast Track, but they at least appeared multiple times within their own original shows, and Jet Ray was a main cast member who showed up well into Ultimate Alien. So it makes me sad that Spitter is the least utilized alien in all of Ben 10, and also my favorite design. It's a little depressing to be this invested in Ben 10, but I do have thoughts. I shared one of them today, which is that my headcanon would be that Spitter could swap between vomit types. These are the good headcanons to have. This was longer than I thought it would be. I thought it would be shorter because so many aliens really don't show up that often after the original 10, specifically, Way Big and the Paramount movie monsters, but I think this is probably going to end up being longer than the first one. You'll know if you click on this video and it's 20 minutes instead of 17, but I got a lot to say. I think for a little while this is going to be my last wholly positive one. I guess Frankenstrike's segment wasn't positive, but my Alien Force video is going to be at least half negative because I have a lot of feelings. A lot of them feel super redundant to me. I brought up Swampfire feeling just like, what if we gave Wildvine a more conventionally cool design and fire powers? Brainstorm is just gray matter and Frankenstrike combined. Echo Echo is just Ditto and Blitzwolfer combined. I really don't like that. It just feels very lazy that a lot of the main aliens would be retreads of existing ones. But also, who cares? But it's not going to be as positive a video as this was. And I don't think any of them are going to be as positive as me spending 3 minutes talking about how much I love a weird vomiting pufferfish. But yeah, thank you for watching this one. Literally every time the view count goes up by 1, I see it and I go, oh wow, someone watched that. I know most people probably aren't going to watch a full thing of this, especially when they see that the editing is minimal and I don't even take the time to put pictures up. This video especially, the lighting is really bad in here because it's like a cloudy gray day outside. I had to turn on the light over my sink to not look way too pale and washed out. But it happens. But yeah, thank you. If you watch this and you're listening to me say this, actively, I am thanking you. I'm just doing this because I like to talk about things, but I don't really want to burden my friends with having to listen to shit that no one cares about. So if you thought this was interesting and you listened to it, I actively appreciate you. Bye-bye.